quickly into spring, and happy spring forwarding, whatever that is for you in your life. I know I've a lot of spring forwarding to do, and I'm ready. I am ready. So here we are. It's exciting. The day has come. This is it. You and I have agreed that we are going on a soul's adventure, and that soul's adventure is going to lead us deeper into the awareness of the power of the soul within us, and give us a better understanding of how to manage that power in a way that is dynamic and transforming and transcending. And so we're ready to enter the castle, so to speak. And the castle is a state of consciousness. And it's what all of the mystics were able to attain through their way of living and their way of being. You could call it their spiritual practice. Now, all of us, since we're wearing bodies on planet Earth, are in practice. Practice, practice. It's always about practice. And so as we move ahead into this, we realize that these states of being that we're talking about as we enter into this castle of consciousness takes us deeper and more fully into a state of poise and at one-ment. But we can't miss any step. We have to enter into each mansion and complete what we're needing to complete in that mansion and all of its many rooms before we go into the next state and into the next state and into the next state. Now, it looks like this, but it's not like that. It's really like this, because all spirituality is like this. You know, it's more like you're a point of power, and then it's up to you to set a circumference or rid yourself of any idea of circumference. So that's how it is. So you might be out there, in here, close to center, in center, all over the place. That's how spirituality is. That's how consciousness is. So we're looking at this thing called an opportunity to adventure where we've never adventured before, gone deeper than we've ever gone deeper before, realizing ourselves in a way we've never realized ourselves before. This is big. And this is not for the faint of heart, because the mystics, when you study and read their lives, you understand and you realize and you see that their spirituality wasn't a soft spirituality. It wasn't let's feel good spirituality all the time. It was far from that. Their spirituality showed up as their constant endeavor to take on the challenges and the vicissitudes of this life, and to move through all of the debris of outer experience with all of its tendencies, its human tendencies to throw us into doubt, to throw us into fear, to keep us in chaos, and so on. And that's not an easy task. Now, this is strong and it's bold, and it's like something we've never done before, because before we've always brought ourselves to the brink, but we've never really dived in, because if we did, we wouldn't be sitting in these seats now, and I wouldn't be standing here. We'd have transcended into other experiences. So we are used to the dance up to the pool, and then we look in and it's so deep, we back away and we say, I don't think so, not yet, I'm not ready. Tomorrow, make it happen for me tomorrow. Like St. Augustine, oh please God, I want to be a good man, but not today, tomorrow. Tomorrow. Mañana. It's a human thing. It's a human thing, and we're well versed with it. So here we are with this opportunity now. And this seven mansion in the castle thing is not just common to the great St. Teresa of Avila, as presented in the book that we're going to be studying during the coming weeks and during my coming class. It's an old concept, but she just, and didn't want to. She was very reluctant. She didn't want to go there at all as far as writing down her experiences, because as you know, everything that you try to write down in an experience is just a little glimpse and glimmer of what the actual experience is. And it's a kind of a superficial thing at best. But anyway, her spiritual directors forced her to do this so that other souls would have an inkling with regard to what it was like and then be motivated to go there too. So reluctantly, in 6 months, she sat down and wrote how best she could what those experiences were like. And let me tell you, they weren't all wondrous as far as the feeling good experience is concerned. Quite the contrary. But that's just life. That's just life. So, as you know, 7 is a very mystical number. There's a 7 this and a 7 that and a 7 the other. So there's 7 days of creation. There are 7 days in the week. There are 7 fruits of the Holy Spirit. There are 7, gifts of the Holy Spirit. There are the 7 sacraments. There are the 7 elements in the tree of life in Judaism. There are 7 chakras, 7 energy centers in the body. 7 turns up all. 7 wonders in the world. 7 seas. 7 this, 7 that. So it's just stating to us that there is a process involved in unfolding whatever, in understanding whatever, in coming to the experience of whatever. So, as we enter in, we're at the point now we're coming to the drawbridge of the castle. We're still not quite sure whether or not we're up to this, but we're saying yes, we'll attempt it. But we gave a real definite yes last week to this. So we're coming to the drawbridge, and as we do, several things come to mind. And so we think to ourselves, okay, all right already. I'm at the point now in my life where everything is upside down and inside out all over the place, and there's a lot of chaos going on, and I'm not sure really about much of anything. And yet here I am saying, I'm going to do this thing that mystics have done, that great sages and saints have accomplished and achieved. And the doubt will begin. The doubt here, the self-doubt will begin here at the drawbridge. But all of us have to say, heck with it. No, it doesn't matter, because I'm not doing this alone. And for the first time ever, I realize I have a greatness, I have a goodness, I have a power, and I have a presence that's going to move me through all of this. And all I need to do is to be deliberate in my intention and deliberate in my response as yes. That's all I have to do. And then fearlessly walk across the drawbridge into the interior of the castle. So all that means is I'm ready to walk outside of and go into from the exterior world into the interior world that is my experience. So what can I expect in the first mansion when I enter the first mansion? What I can expect is a real understanding that there is a sense world, an exterior world, and there is a soul world, an interior world, and they're both very real. And that I somehow have to come to harmony with both of these and be okay with that, and with the understanding that I can unify at this stage. And it's an exciting stage, the first mansion, because I'm just all giddy with delight, and I have my beginner's mind, and I'm ready for this wonderful adventure, whatever it is. And then the second, and then there are rooms there that I have to enter into and see what that's about. And then the second mansion is, it's not the same. This one is kind of in your face. It's a challenge. It can be dry and it can be arid. Why? Because it's the working mansion. I have to roll up my sleeves and get to work here, because here is where I'm venturing in a little deeper, and then I'm thinking, I don't know about this stuff anyway. Is it real? Is it for real? Is it for real? Is there any good in it? Will any good come out of it? And, I've gone so far in this stage of my life, and I don't know. I've made the endeavor, and I'm not sure. And what is there in this for me anyway? And what is the reward, you see? And all of the committee and the egoic mind starts in on you, saying, you really, what's it all about, Alfie? Anyway, because you said yes, and because the soul is rising within you, and because of the power and the presence of Spirit within you, taking you seriously at your initial word, you'll be moved through all that debris, the debris of the chaos of the exterior world with all of its doubts and all of its fears and all of that stuff, and you'll make it through. because you're just being dogged now. You don't care. You're going to bulldoze through this. And so you go into the third. Into the third mansion now, you are going to be confronted by mentality and logic and reason. And it's going to push at you. Reason and rationale and logic will be pushing at you. And you will be strong before it because you will know, guess what? I am on the interior side of life now, and logic is not where it's at. Reason is not where it's at. I'm going beyond reason. I'm going beyond logic now because that's very different from the soul's way of perceiving. There are two ways of perceiving, the body-mind way of perceiving and the soul way of perceiving, and they're not the same at all. So here in the third mansion, you're ready to get that, No, this is not the way I function in this mansion. I don't function according to reason, according to logic at all. I'm functioning now according to the illumination of the soul, and you get comfortable with that. So, you go into the fourth mansion then, and in the fourth mansion, you've just entered into the first mansion of the interior state of being. You've left the first three, which deal with the exterior world and the mind-body connection and so on, and now you've entered into the chamber of the heart and its illumination. And in this fourth mansion now, you're getting ready. You're getting ready for the real deal here. And there will be that warmth and there will be that light that will come from this chamber. It's the fourth chakra, actually. So here's where we are in our sojourn. And it's a lovely state and a lovely place of being. Then we're moving into the fifth mansion. Here again, scaffolding, we need scaffolding, it goes up. Here again, we may be questioning ourselves. Here again, we may be wondering and saying, is this for real? Am I getting there? Is this happening for me? And here I'm asking myself, well, how can I cope, with so much light? How can I manage the power of the soul? How can I function in a world with all of this going on? What does that look like? It gets to be a kind of too much of a good thing in the fifth mansion, or whatever it gets to be for you or for me. But don't be surprised if we're not challenged again and kind of questioning ourselves, and be very watchful of the mind's activity here and reason's activity here and logic's activity here. It doesn't belong here, but that's where it might show up again. And then in the sixth mansion, it all begins to gel. It all begins to come together. It all begins to synchronize. And that is where, when you read Teresa, where she comes into her own, and this full-bodied, powerful, wise, holy woman emerges as she gains entrance to the sixth mansion of her soul. And it does begin to do all of that, coalesce, and we become congruent with the light, with the illumination, and so on. And it's anybody's guess what's going to happen for each one of us. Then the seventh mansion is the conclusion of the endeavor and the journey. Here we enter into the mystical marriage, the mystical union. Here's where humanity and divinity come into a beautiful blend and merge and are unified. And this is the state of at-one-ment. This is when we are able to experience life, our individual life expression, as a one unit thing. Now, I don't know how to describe it, really. There's no way to do it. But here, you're aware of yourself as soul, and the only awareness you have is not of a million people or a million things, but it's an awareness of all of life. This is a state in which you can actually feel life having its expression through you, leaves you feel unfolding in you. You feel the roots of trees coming up through your spine, the branches flowing out of your head. You feel the oceanic essence of sea and sky. You feel the strength of rock and mountain. You feel the illumination of the stars. You feel all of life as you in expression. I don't know how to describe it, but it's kind of something like that. And that's what you can enjoy. That's what I can enjoy. That's what you are made for. That's what I am made for and of. And all it is a returning back to our original state of grace as we were in the beginning and are supposed to be now and evermore, in this unified state and essence of being. So here we become perfectly poised. True humility, which is perfect poise. Humility is powerful. It's strong. It's vibrant. It's everything godly. It's the sense that I am everything and everyone. So therefore, there is never, ever any chance of me even knowing such a thing exists as comparison, competition, complaints, and condemnation. I don't know that exists. It has nothing to do with me. And because of that, I'm totally at one, totally in unison and harmony with the good, and only the good in all of life and living. And I have come home to the truth of my being, home to the great self of myself. And in so doing, realize that's the only home there is. There's no your home and my home. There's no yourself and myself. There's one home and oneself, and I'm in it. And that's where the journey through the mansions of the castle can take us if, number one, we are truly intentional and have said yes to the invitation. Number two, that we are ready and willing to be all that is required of us to be as we journey. Number three, we understand that our only objective is to listen. That's our only objective, to listen. Number four, the only way I can come to being able to listen is by embracing the power of silence, which is the oxygen of the soul. Number five, the realization that there is a movement happening in and through me, and it's more than I am myself. It's godly. And I am not making this journey, endeavor, alone. Number six, that I fearlessly keep continuing in my journey no matter what seems to be an obstacle in the way, because the godliness in me goes like that to obstacles. Back of my hand. Obstacles are only obstacles, illusions, that I don't have to trip up over. And number seven, that I allow myself the ability to release, to relax, and to let God. To let God be God by means of me. as Meister Eckhart discovered a long time ago. Now, you and I have this invitation. And it's up to you and I to do with it what we will do with it. It can be another lovely thought at that level, or it can be more than that. It can actually be an endeavor that transforms my life forever and ever and ever. Because you and I will be able to say, for the first time in forever, I know my God. This has nothing to do with more study and more endeavor in that way. It has to do with being open to an experience. And the biggest of all things is, I have to agree to make the decision to live prayerfully. And that means that every single day I choose just at least one spiritual exercise, whatever that is, and you'll know it for yourself, that's going to consciously connect me with my source. Consciously connect me, experientially connect me with my source. Included within the prayerfulness frame from all the mystics, we learn what is important. Spiritual reading, spiritual study, spiritual reflection, spiritual contemplation, spiritual meditation, spiritual visualization, and spiritually declaring our word of good. These are all prayerful ways that you and I can be in, and are great assets to us. They are the oars that will row our boat deeply into this experience. And don't think you can do what we have shared here this morning without engaging prayerfully every day in your life, which means is to catch consciousness. Get consciously conscious. Become consciously conscious. What is a mystic when all is said and done? A passionate lover of spirit, of soul, of God, of good. And the way they show their passionate love is to show up in sacred service and to meet a need wherever they find it and to give their lives away. Generously, squanderingly give themselves away. You see, there's the crux. This kind of spirituality is no longer that psychic thing that we've been doing for the past 50 years, as Caroline Mace points out to us in her book, Entering the Castle, which is what we'll be studying. It's the time where we got into our psychic, understood how it worked, got the psychosomatic thing under our belts, and we realized that I have to take care of my this and my that and my the other, and I must self-heal, and I must take care of all of this business. Okay, this castle experience requires us going beyond that. It goes beyond us getting out of all the shadowed stuff that has been more than willingly pointed out to us or unwillingly pointed out to us. We know we have a shadow side. We know the shadow side has wounded us, whether we've been wounded in childhood, whether we've been wounded by our parents, by our teachers, by our boy girlfriends, our spouses, or whatever. We know all of that. We've had it now for 50 years. We've been working on all of that now for the last 50 years, as far as the psychologists and so on are concerned, and the pop spiritual psychologists are concerned, and so on and so forth. Now it's time to get into the soul, to get up out of all of that debris and go into the soul, because we're not interested in showing up anymore, just highlighting our shadowed self. We want to highlight the illuminated self too. We want to get into the soul essence. We want to focus on our soul's composition as well as the psychosomatic composition of ourselves. And now we're willing to give a bit of time to that. We're beginning to look to the light of us and out of the shadows of ourselves, because we'll never get to the light if we're always focused on the shadowed side of things. My wounded self. If I'm always focused on my wounded self, guess what? I'm always going to be wounded. Who wants to always be wounded? Here a wound, there a wound, everywhere. One heals, the other starts up again. Oh, for heaven's sakes, it's wearying. It's exhausting, this thing, this woundedness of ourselves. And I'm not making little of it, because heal it, it must. It must. But here's another way to heal it. Leave it alone. Go into the soul and its illumination. And let me tell you, it'll take care of all of that. So are we ready for this? Yes. Again, are we ready for this? Yes. Are we able for this? Yes. Are we willing to go for this? Yes. And so it is.